omnibus law, as you might want to call it, is now an entire, and that provides for the Nigerian Upstream Regulatory Commission. And Part 4, which covers Section 29 to 52, makes provisions for the midstream and downstream petroleum authority, while Part 5 is the last part of the chapterization and is dedicated to the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited and has a total of 13 sections, that is from 53 to 65. Now, it's a voluminous document. I have a copy of that. It's a very, very tedious thing to read. But look at it very clinically. We are going to examine few of these issues. One of the issues is when you make NNPC a business venture, what model will we adopt? Will we adopt the NLNG model, where government will have a certain percentage equity, and while the business owners will get their percentage equities? For instance, NLNG 49 to 51 percentage equities. Will that be the model, or what kind of model are we looking at? That's on one side. And the other hand, we'll look at the product itself. Will NNPC be able to transform to such a business venture at the end of the day? Well, my guest is on the wings. I'm sure that he's already waiting for me to get through to him. So we'll be speaking with Levinus Nosike. Levinus Nosike wrote this book, Overview of the Petroleum Industry, a New Perspective in the Saga of the Oil and Gas Struggle. So we'll get to speak with him right away so that all of us will have an idea of what the experts are saying concerning the industry bill that has turned to an act at this moment. So, hello is already here. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing good.
It's good to have you. Very well. It's good to have you join us on the program. Great. I recall that the last time we spoke on radio, we were talking about your book, How the Oil and Gas Industry Works, Overview of the Petroleum Industry, isn't it?
It is.
Yes, and I still see a lot of things that you said in that book that is playing out right now. But before we hit the Petroleum Industry Act, how do you react to the fact that we now do not have just upstream and downstream? Now we have midstream added to the sector. How do you relate with such an introduction of midstream?
I will say that that's a good news for every Nigerian and for the industry. Unfortunately, one of the regrets we all share is that this is coming a bit late or almost late, so we have to be hopeful. Actually, the midstream is not something new. This is something that is supposed to have been foreseen from the onset of exploration in Nigeria. But like the downstream, I think we were kept a little in the shadow, because we are supposed to have exploration and production and refining, EP and R. But for some reason, the refining angle was kept silent, and we focused on exploration and production, making the impact of the oil industry to only contribute 10% to local production. The rest goes to foreign exchange and federal government. So the midstream is one of those things coming in late. We are happy, but I hope that we can still optimize the chances we have with it.
All right. Now, let's get to the PIA itself. A very huge document, as it were, with 319 sections and 5 chapters. Now, what are your general concerns about this act? Before we talk about the 3% to host communities, 30% to frontier basin exploration, what are your general observation of this act as signed into law by President Muhammadu Buhari?
First of all, like I said, this is a good thing. We're happy it has been signed into law. There's a lot of positive things and some challenges, and like you mentioned, what we can call concerns. The first concern is when it is coming in. This is coming in at a time when the rest of the world, the petroleum industry, are moving on to renewable. So if this comes in now, the intention might be almost defeated, because 10 years ago, 20 years ago, people were willing to invest in frontier basins. Today, all the IOCs have research centers, they have renewables. We are moving on to non-fossil fuel-based cars. So if this law is coming in now, are we sure they are going to be motivated? Are they willing to invest? So this is the first concern. The second concern is that while the PIB is seen as a legal framework in addition to governance and all that, the legal angle is a challenge because we are having a very weak judicial system. So we have to count only on the regulators. And the regulators so far, they are improving, but it's not been very effective because the system has been too complex. So most time we are smarted by the players. But today we hope that with a simpler PIB, we should be able to do what we say. If I had the time, I will add that. I will give you an example.
Please go
when
ahead.
You mentioned the deregulation.
Yeah.
So the deregulation, for example, everybody in Nigeria knows that that's one of our major sources of corruption. And we are saying that there will be no more deregulation. This is the third time in the country when the country will hope that deregulation, that subsidy has been removed. And then after 1 year or two, we'll discover that for some reason it's still subsidized. Now, this is no longer a bill. This is a law.
Mm-hmm.
So nobody has right now to even make any expenditure under the title of subsidy. But if you just declare no subsidy immediately, the country will go into chaos. So you need a regulator again, you need some, and then that challenge is something before us. They need to pull in people who are experienced, insiders, to work for our country, to be patriotic, not to be on the other side of the table if we want to seek success with the PIB. It's not politicians that will handle this, but technocrats, elites in the industry.
Okay. Now, you have actually made very strong issues about this one. But before I go for a break, because I'm due for a break, NNPC is equally a concern when we talk about this particular law. The NNPC is now to be seen or to be run with a profit, says, as a company. Would you think that is possible and will be practicable as it is currently structured?
Yes, that's one of the things in the chapters. In fact, in the governance and institution, one of the first chapters. So the idea that you are moving the NNPC to become a company is definitely something very good. But in practice, you know what that means is that NNPC is supposed to make profits on its own.
Yes.
It's supposed to be competitive.
Yes.
So when you make employment on federal character, merits, and all this, it's going to interfere. And the same bill is trying to say, okay, NNPC will take 10% profit of all proceeds from oil and gas, things like that. A company don't have a cut-out profit. You don't earmark a profit for a company. The company has to work for that profit. It's not fixed. It doesn't come by government bill or policy. So if you want NNPC to become an independent company, of course, the profit can go to the government, but you need to leave it to run. It has to be competitive. It can buy shares from Dangote. It can buy its own oil field. It should explore, have gains or losses. It should be run like a company, audited independently. Because if you start to give bills and policies to control it, it goes back to the Nigerian factor where you remove something and the thing is still there.
Okay, so let me quickly ask, what kind of model will you think should be adopted for an efficient, a productive, a profitable NNPC?
This is a very good question that I wish we can have a very straightforward answer. The problem is that a model is intrinsically linked to the model of the country. So if we were clear-cut a country like Qatar, okay, or Norway, or France, it becomes easy to say this is what works. So if Nigeria was a pure federation, if Nigeria was a country where maybe, let's say, it's restructured or is a pure federation, it becomes clear to define one rule that can work. If it's a unitary system, if it's a theocracy, like some of the Middle East countries, there's a model to run. The problem with proposing a model in Nigeria is that we are somewhere in between a federation and a unitary system, both in our arrangement and in the fiscal method. So I will explain what I mean.
Okay.
If you want NNPC to be independent, why not leave it as an independent company or run it as maybe the government will have share in it? And that's it. You run it as a company. The proceeds will now go to the government based on the percentage share it has, based on the government's investment. But in Nigeria, that would be difficult because there's a federation account. This money is supposed to be shared to the whole nation. And so model I've proposed is quite difficult for me, but it should be something similar to what the PIB is proposing, where it is an independent company, but with some fiscal and, regulations and policy guiding it. It's the best we have for the country we have today as a nation.
All right, I see.
Imagine that.
Yes.
Imagine. Okay.
Go ahead, please. Go ahead.
I want to say, imagine that the offshore production, for example, belongs to the federal government, and the onshore production belongs to the host community, for example. Then NNPC will have will run the offshore basins like a government asset, and they will have nothing to do with the oil fields onshore, except the host communities accept it and is a company running in the locality, just like any other oil company, just like any other Nigerian oil company in the host nation. I hope you get where I'm heading.
I got you.
So there's a mix. Yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now I have to take a break, but you have to hold on for me. I'll take this break and then get back to you after the break. I want us to talk about the issue of the 3% for the host communities, the redefinition of the host communities, as it were, by the PIB, if there is any, and also the idea of 30% for frontier basin exploration. And you already said that PIB is coming late when other countries are already prospecting for clean energy. This will be our focus when we come back after the break. Do stay with us.
The big leagues are back, and DSTV is the only place you can watch it all. Enjoy live matches weekly from the best leagues in the world. We're talking the Premier League, La Liga, Serie A, the Champions League, not to mention the return of the Europa League. That's Salah, Kane, Haaland, Bruno, Lukaku, Suarez, Messi, and CR7.
Oh my goodness!
All week, every week.
You're just lost for words!
Nothing beats the unbeatable football on DSTV.
Chop life, live life, do the things that go make you happy. Them not like I'm to once in everybody gets your flavor. Chop life, drink up, one glass of Martin and step down. Them not like I'm to once in everybody gets your flavor. Oh, your flavor. Elele, yeah. Oh, your flavor.
Maltina, share happiness.
Becky, come and have your cereal.
Mommy, can I have my cereal with Moron Glucose D, please?
Can I also have my tea, please?
Of course, darling. As a mother, I choose Monroe Glucose D as the sweetener for all my family's cereal and beverages because it not only gives my family instant energy, Monroe Glucose D is enriched with calcium and vitamin D. When you're buying, look out for the Monroe Glucose D logo on the pack to ensure that you're getting premium quality. Monroe Glucose D is manufactured by Brand Monroe Limited.
Àmúwá fún yín láti iléeṣẹ́ tó jẹ́ aṣáájú nínú ṣíṣe máṣíìnì alùpùpù lágbàáyé. Ẹ̀mí kò ṣeé dádúró ti Naija. Hero Hunter. Máṣíìnì alùpùpù Hero Hunter 100 pẹ̀lú ìjókòó gígùn tó tún tẹ́jú, ààyè ìgbẹ́rù tó fẹ̀ àti ẹ́ńjìnì alágbára 100cc tó tún wá pẹ̀lú warranty onídìíwọ̀n olóṣù 12 Visco engine oil oní lítà 24 èyí tí yóò mú ọ tọ́jú ju $1,040 lọ. Fún ìgbà díẹ̀ ni o, fún ẹ̀kúnrẹ́rẹ́ àlàyé ẹ pè Làfẹ́ 0800 800 8080. Hero Hunter, máṣíìnì alùpùpù tó lálòtọ́ tó ṣe é gbára lé.
There are moments in life when you're just so scared and you feel like just giving up. Oh, but Dino Milk is saying, we know that you can do it. Believe in yourself and then go for it. Go for it. Nourishment, oh, that is your Dino Milk. Oh, yes, Dino Milk. Don't let anything hold you back. Oh, Dino is cheering you thanks to your Dino Milk. Go for it. Drink up your Dino Milk. Just add up your Dino Milk. Go for it with Dino
happens when you open up a bottle of Fanta. It's bubbly excitement waiting to break free. It's living in the moment. It's not caring who's watching. It's putting your enjoyment first. It's adding color to the gray and making time to play. It's not taking life too seriously and adding a touch of crazy. Fanta is flavor. Fanta is laughter. Fanta is color. How are you going to color your day? Fanta. Color every moment.
Here, Papa Obi. Now what in they shake you again like leaf? Sweater and handkerchief never come off from your hands since I married you.
Na code and kata again, oh.
I don't tell you, say make you take Procode, but in the form of big man.
Why Procode, my dear?
Make you know what comes to Rodo. Procode get paracetamol and phenylephrine for effective relief from cold and catarrh within 20 minutes.
Mama Obi, I dey campaign now.
Now, Orange Drugs Limited distributor. If symptoms never stop after 3 days, make you waka go see your doctor. Procode, now better medicine.
Procode, take Procode, take Procode.
Bẹ́ẹ̀ni, ojúlówó Nasco cornflakes kún fún èròjà tí ń ṣara lóore tó dára nítorí wípé all flaked cornflakes náà ni all flaked cornflakes ní apilẹ̀ṣe ní ìlànà tí gbogbo èròjà ṣara lóore inú rẹ̀ ò fi lè yege. Oúnjẹ aṣara lóore ni adùn inú rẹ̀ afẹnuwó ó sì dára fún gbogbo ẹbí. Nítorí náà tí àtijẹ cornflakes bá dé rí i dájú pé all flaked Nasco cornflakes ló yàn láàyò oúnjẹ aládùn tó dára ní gbogbo ìgbà.
The game is on. It's a game of fame, love, and betrayal. To remain in the game, watch your back and never lose your guard. Because when you do, you're out! The biggest reality show in Africa, Big Brother Naija Season 6 is back. Don't miss the intense drama this season. Showing 24/7 on DSTV channel 198 with live eviction show on Sundays at 7 p.m. on Africa Magic. Headline sponsor Abeg, associate sponsor Patricia. BB Naija is rated 18.
Uncle Dentist, what be cavities and how Colgate take they protect my teeth from cavities? Shey they use comfort?
No, dear. Now, hole for teeth they cause most tooth pain will be cavity. But if you use Colgate Maximum Cavity Protection, take brush every day. The confirmed formula could help keep natural calcium inside our teeth. We could protect them from tooth decay.
Time don't reach to upgrade to the world's most chosen toothpaste, Colgate, because Colgate locks calcium in.
Now, the Nigerian Dental Association, they recommend Colgate.
On a cool day, what do you want to do?
Make you spice up your life.
As in, collect tea as it hot. And chilled Sprite to the cool body.
Give your favorite pepper meal that extra vibe with a chilled bottle of Sprite, now in a new bottle. Enjoy the refreshing lemon lime taste of Sprite, no matter the heat.
Ó lè ṣàì má fọwọ́ pọmọ rẹ lára gbogbo ìgbà.
Ọ̀rẹ́ mi, ṣé ò rárá ọmọ mi ni? Ṣé o rántí wípé gbogbo ara ẹ̀ ló sún tẹ́lẹ̀ torí ìlédìí àtòoru? Ṣùgbọ́n látìgbà tí mo ti ṣàwárí baby tributan, lára ọmọ mi ti ń jọ̀lọ̀ bẹ́ẹ̀ ló ń dán. Kò sì sóhun tó ń jára sísún tàbí ooru mọ́.
Mo rántí lóòótọ́ ni. Túbọ̀ ṣàlàyé nípa baby tributan fún mi.
Apilẹ̀ṣẹ̀ baby tributan gẹ́gẹ́ bí àkọ́ṣe òògùn fún àwọn ọmọdé tó jọ̀lọ̀ fún ìdáàbòbò àti láti gbógun ti ara sísún látàrí lílo ìlédìí tàbí ooru. Lo baby tributan lónìí kò sì ṣàwárí àṣírí àwọn ọmọdé tó jọ̀lọ̀.
Baby tributan ní èròjà clotrimazole àti istamol nínú rẹ̀. Ẹ rí i dájú wípé ẹ̀ka ìwé pélébé tó wà nínú pálí tributan ní gbogbo ìgbà. Tributan, iléeṣẹ́ 15 Healthcare PLC ló ń ṣe é.
Welcome back. I am sure that Levinos Nosuke is still here. Hello, are you still there, sir? Hello? Hello, are you there? Oh, I couldn't hear him.
Chop life, live life, do the things that go make you happy. Them not like I'm to once in everybody gets your flavor. Chop life, drink up, one glass of martini as you step down. Them not like I'm to once in everybody gets your flavor. Oh, your flavor. Elele, 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 yeah. Oh, your flavor.
Maltina, share happiness.
Ẹgbẹ̀rún mẹ́fà àbọ̀ náírà ni owó yín sà. Báwo lẹ ṣe fẹ́ sanwó?
Mo máa ti gbàgbé àpamọ́wọ́ mi.
Ẹ má yọra yín lẹ́nu. Ẹ lè sanwó kíákíá tí ẹ bá tẹ NQR code wa níbí pẹ̀lú èyíkéyìí ohun èlò ìfowópamọ́ alágbèéká yín.
Ní tòótọ́?
Bẹ́ẹ̀ ni sà, ẹ ṣe àyẹ̀wò níbí.
Mo máa ti rí ìfiránṣẹ́ ìṣòwò náà kíákíá ni.
NQR ló ṣe ìpèsè ìrọ̀rùn àti àwọn àṣàyàn ìsanwó tí kò ní ìbátan. Ó yára, ó ṣe é gbẹ́kẹ̀lé, ó sì ní ààbò. Ó wà káàkiri ní àwọn ilé ìtajà lórílẹ̀‐èdè. Fún àlàyé díẹ̀ sí, jọ̀wọ́ kàn sí ilé ìfowópamọ́ rẹ. NIBS ló ṣonígbọ̀wọ́ ẹ̀ fún gbogbo àwọn olùpèsè iṣẹ́ owó.
Wow, you no just fit to stop dey rub your pikin jololo body, my dear. You know see my pikin skin? You remember say nappy and heat rashes been full in body before, but since I discover baby Tribotan, hey, my pikin skin just dey oyoyo like velvet. Nappy or heat rash don vamoose. Abeg tell me more about this baby Tribotan. Baby Tribotan na Jim skin medicine for all yama nappy and heat rash dem wey dey fire children body. Make you use baby Tribotan today and you go discover how your pikin body go jololo like velvet.
Baby Tribotan get clotrimazole and Istamol. Make you dey always read the product leaflet wey dey inside the pack. Na Fitson Healthcare PLC dey make am.
All right, thank you for being there. As I said earlier, Livinus Dosike is still here. Apologies for that short break. The PIB repeals about 10 laws, including the Associated Gas Reinjection Act, Hydrocarbon Oil Refineries Act, Motor Spirit Act, NNPC Projects Act, NNPC Act itself, when NNPC ceases to exist as it is right now, PPPRA Act, Petroleum Equalization Fund Act, PPTA, and Deep Offshore and Inland Basin PSC Act, and it amends the Shipment Inspection of Oil Export Act. All of these put together in one omnibus law that we call PIA at this time. Now, I will get back to Nosike immediately, and I want him to quickly help me with this fact-ish issue before we go to the 3% and 30% allocation within that sector. Now, if you look at the oil and gas sector as it is right now, is it okay for us as a country to begin to think about clean energy? Shouldn't we be thinking about clean energy more than investing our money in prospecting for oil?
So yes, this is one of those early concerns we mentioned. And these laws that were repealed, which you mentioned, they are in Chapter 5, the area known as miscellaneous provisions. And you can see a lot of laws were repealed, and we can't go into the details, but it's important for everyone to understand why we had to reduce these things to a simpler law. In fact, the PIB has been there because all these info, for example, the gas injection, for the last 10 years, we've been trying to inject gas to ensure that we don't have pollution. But unfortunately, gas injection is a very complex process to store it safely. Now we're saying we're not going to flare, which means we need to provide pipelines to pipe these gases for LNG and use it locally. Are we ready to use this gas locally? Where in Nigeria are we having pipe gas to our homes? And so because of all these complexities, there was need to make this thing simpler. So some of these laws were repealed. That's the first thing we have to understand. The second one is that, like you said, the issue of cleaner energy. Of course, everyone knows, including Nigerian government, the regulators, that we need to move to cleaner energy. But there are 2 points here. The first one is that to move to cleaner energy, if we have to depend on the West to bring in their solar plates, we can't produce all these things locally. We go back to the losses we had during the oil and gas era, in the sense that if we still take energy, we still depend on foreign powers, and at the end of it, we will be slower. So the principle is that hold on to what you have. As the rest of the world is giving up oil and gas, for the major oil-producing nations, including Nigeria and other countries in the world, in the Middle East, it will take us a bit longer. So what we should do is to push the oil industry to limits and use all the resources we can use to now move on to other areas like renewable energy, agriculture, and all that. So that's what's going on at the moment. We need to do the final phase of exploration at this point.
All right. Now, one of the criticisms to this PIA is the issue around the host communities. Before we go to 3%, tell me clearly, I'm sure you have studied it, have we redefined what host communities will mean by this PIA?
Yes, in a way, yes. If we are to be sincere and approach this in a very transparent fashion, it's not confusing. Because some of us who have been in the IOCs, we have meetings where even the IOCs let us know that they already give out some tokens to some of these communities. However, these tokens are informal. They go to the chief. They sign memorandums of understanding. So there's something already going on informally. That is why the host community were not happy, because there were cases where they were giving up to 5%, okay, informally. So they feel, why will you now bring this down to 3%? But when we go clearly to the difference, you will see that there's something new now that we can hold on to. So yes, we know the host community. You can define it. This is the perimeters of exploration. So there are two levels. In the local, in the informal section, the right thing is the community. We have communities headed by a king or a chief or whatever system. So if you come to explore oil, you need to know the community. A community is defined by a people ruled by a single chief, and there's a perimeter. So we really know what is host community. If we are to look at it from the Nigerian government definition, in a good country where the system works, you have the municipal authorities, you have the local government. So there are other ways to define it from a political angle. But for what we have today is actually the local community guided by the chiefs and the obas or whatever is your system in your area.
No, but some people have said that wherever the gas pipeline or the oil pipeline passes through will be part of what you can call the host communities.
This is something new that is coming in now. When you begin to think of the midstream, you begin to think of the movement, the transportation. So host community is defined as anywhere you are carrying out petroleum operation. The reality is that the actual impact is when you drill oil and produce oil, like we have in the Niger Delta. But we are saying if a big pipeline is passing through your village or your house, there's some level of inconvenience. So for me, I would have advocated that if you give the actual oil operating environment, let's say 3%, that for oil pipeline in the midstream, something in between should not have been the same, because the impact is not the same. And once people feel this clarity, there's a sense of injustice. And yes, so there's an issue there for me, but yes, there's an impact, but you cannot equate it to what's going on in the actual places you place your pipeline, your wells, oil wells.
I mean, those are the areas you call the perimeters of exploration.
Yes, yes.
Okay, so let's close in on this discussion here. The 3% for the host communities, do you agree with it? And do you see the communities accepting these on the long run and not disrupt the business in these communities?
This is the crux of the matter. I think this and the 30% to the frontier zone is the major thing in the PIB that is still under major discussion. And I'll bring some clarity to this. The host community development is in chapter 3.
Yes.
So we have to differentiate some things. And let me make it clear simply. You need to know 3% of what? And I will give you the answer. The 3% given to host community is 3% of operational cost, which will be calibrated based on the previous year's operation. So at the end of the year, you know the operational cost. Operational cost is different from proceeds. What is operational cost? So you plant your well, you fly your helicopters, you drill the well, all that and all that. So operational cost. Now let me bring in something that most Nigerians are not seeing. The major reason why we are not profiting from our oil industry operation is that the operational cost is too heavy. The IOCs are complaining, our government, everybody is complaining. And by the time you minus operational cost from proceeds, there's nothing remaining. So let's say the company makes a turnover of $100 million and operational cost was $80 million. So it's remaining just $20 million. So when you start talking of money that will go to frontier zone, it's from the $20 million, it's from the 30, it's from the proceeds of the NNPC. Okay. That's in chapter 1 of governance. Yes. But the 3% is operational cost. So operational cost is a bit higher. So while we wish for a 5%, I think the host communities may just consider the 3% for two reasons. One is that there's already a 3% given to NDDC. So you have about 6%. The second reason is that this is operational cost. So it's different and it's actually the operation that affects the host community. Okay. And so remember, this host community is still part of Nigeria. Yes. And if you take this too high, by the time you take this to 3%, 6%, 5%, 8%, 10%, the operational cost is still going high. Yeah. And at the end, remember, the aim of this is to attract people to come and invest. So I think there's argument on both sides. Okay. And most people say maybe we can start with this. Yes.
Okay. Livinus Nosike, I'd like to thank you for your time and agreeing to speak with me at a very short notice. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you. This is the heartbeat of the nation. Yes. This is our heartbeat, and we will always be ready to discuss this.
I hope we have a new book from you.
Yes, we have a new book titled Exploration and Production Geoscience. This book is mainly for the people in the industry or aspiring to be geoscientists. Yes, so it's my newest book. The other book, Overview of the Petroleum Industry and the Career in the Petroleum Industry, is more for the public. It's for everyone. Right. So that's my newest book, and it's available on our internet, on iesog.com.
Okay. Thank you, Livinus Nosike, for speaking with me on the program this morning. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you for having me.
All right. And that's it on Economic Searchlight for today. We must thank you all for being part of this conversation today. Many thanks also to the students of Splash FM Academy for being part of the production today. I'm Oluwaseun Akinola. I do have a wonderful Friday. Desmond to the G, thank you for your assistance. Good morning.
Where else? It's Splash 105.5.
This is what happens when you open up a bottle of Fanta. It's bubbly excitement waiting to break free. It's living in the moment. It's not caring who's watching. It's putting your enjoyment first. It's adding color to the gray and making time to play. It's not taking life too seriously and adding a touch of crazy. Fanta is flavor. Fanta is laughter. Fanta is color. How are you going to color your day? Fanta. Color every moment.
mo jẹ́ abiyamọ tó níṣẹ́ lọ́wọ́ mo sì jẹ́ ìyàwó ilé àti alámòjútó lágbègbè mi nípa ìdí èyí ọwọ́ mi dí púpọ̀ ewu bá ní àkókò tí mo ní láti lè máa ṣe àbẹ̀wò lóòrèkóòrè sí ilé ìwòsàn fún gbígba oògùn adènà ìlóyún oògùn adènà ìlóyún alábẹ́rẹ́ àdálò lẹ́ẹ̀kan ṣoṣo fún mi ní oore ọ̀fẹ́ àti ààbò àìlóyún fóṣù 3 mo lè dá ara mi gún ní abẹ́rẹ́ yìí pẹ̀lú ìbàlẹ̀ ọkàn dandan sì kọ́ ní kẹ́nikẹ́ni ó mọ̀ sí lákọ̀ọ́kọ́ mi ò dára mi lójú pé mo lè ní ìgboyà náà láti gún ara mi lábẹ́rẹ́ ṣùgbọ́n pẹ̀lú ìdánilẹ́kọ̀ọ́ àti ìrànwọ́ mo róye pé ìlànà tí ó rọrùn ni tí kò sì pani lára ni oògùn adènà ìlóyún gígùn ara ẹni lábẹ́rẹ́ tí fún mi ní agbára láti pinnu ìgbà tí mo tún lè lóyún bí mo bá fẹ́ ó sì fún mi ní òmìnira nínú àsìkò tó péye láti dá irú obìnrin tí mo jẹ́ àti ohun tí mo bá fẹ́ láti dà.
ǹjẹ́ òun fẹ́ láti ṣàmúlò onírúurú ọ̀nà tí o lè gbà fi dènà ìlóyún kí o sì túbọ̀ ṣe ìwádìí sí i lórí bí a ṣe lè dá ara ẹni fún ní abẹ́rẹ́ kàn sí discoveryourpower.org lónìí tàbí kí o wá #discoveryourpower. ìkéde yìí ń wá pẹ̀lú àtìlẹ́yìn ẹ̀ka tó ń mójútó ìdàgbàsókè ètò ìlera lábẹ́ àjọ elétò ìlera ìjọba àpapọ̀.
ẹ̀yin ará lọ́kùnrin lóbìnrin